Hello, StokerCon. Good to see everyone. Not that I can see you, but try to pretend this is real. I'm very happy to be doing an author reading for StokerCon, and I'm going to read from my latest, The Gulp. The Gulp is a collection of 5 novellas, interconnected stories that sort of make a mosaic novel about a strange, weird town, Australian harbour town called Gulp. But the locals call it The Gulp because it has a habit of swallowing people. Excuse me. And as I said, 5 interconnected stories. I thought I might read the opening of the second story, which is called Mother in Bloom. So let's get into that, shall we? We need to air this place out, Maddie said, face scrunched in disgust under her strawberry blonde hair. Zach turned from the bed to look back at her. You gonna finally come in now? Nah. She's dead. You can come in. Fucking stinks, Zach. Her brother shrugged. That's death for you. Just open the window at least. Zach sighed and moved around the bed, pulled open the curtains and unlatched the window, swung it wide. As daylight flooded in, the cadaver that was their mother took on super real details. Doesn't even look like her anymore, Maddie said. She leaned into the room, a little, wincing against the stench. It was sickly and thick, sweet and harsh at the same time, laced with shit and antiseptic. She'd only been dead a few hours, it would get worse quickly. You're a year older than me, Zach said. You're supposed to be the responsible one. Am I really? You're 18 soon. Another 6 months, Zach. I'm no more an adult than you are. Don't try to pull that shit. I'm the one that said we should shut the bedroom door and leave her to it. You insisted on caring for her. Just because she died now doesn't make it suddenly my problem. She cared for us. Maddie shot one hand up, palm out. When did she ever fucking care for us? She kept us alive when we were babies, that's it. I've been taking care of myself and you since I was 5. You looked after yourself enough too. Daddy helped until he disappeared, and I was only 9 then. We've been on our own our whole lives, Zach. Fuck her. I'm glad she's finally dead. You think he really left us? Zach asked. You always say disappeared and vanished and shit, never left. I'm not having this conversation again. Who knows? This town? Anything's possible. Zach looked down at the skeletal woman in the foul-stained bed. Maddie couldn't help looking too. Their mother's skin was patched ochre and pale browns, where it had once been creamy, her lips cracked, eyes and cheekbones bulging from a sallow face that was mostly skull. Her mouth hung slightly open, tips of yellowed teeth showing. Zach sniffed, wincing against the smell, and then nodded. Yeah, me too. What? I'm glad she's dead. Yeah. But we owe her something. Do we? Zach looked up, eyes flashing anger. What do we do with her? Harbour? Zach pursed his lips, shook his head. I'm worried she'll float or something, be found. We can't risk the house, Zach. Maddie looked around, glanced back over her shoulder. I mean, shitty as it is, it's finally ours. We get to relax and enjoy it all at last. I know, that's all okay. I have the login details for Centrelink, all the benefits of pensions and shit. We're well prepared, we just need to make sure no one knows she's dead. But every time I bring up what to do with her, you change the subject. Well, time's up. Now we have to decide. So what do we do with her? Dump her in the bush? What if someone finds her? Or an animal drags her back or something? Bury her in the bush. Zach stared at his mother, lips pursed. Would take a bit of effort, and we'd have to park up somewhere on the road out of sight and then carry her in. Might get seen at any point. We have to be absolutely safe, Maddie. No one can know. Whatever we do with her is going to be risky. Maddie took a step back. I can't stand the stench anymore, Zach. Leave the window open, but shut the door. Let's talk about this somewhere else. They sat in the lounge room, Zach on the threadbare couch, Maddie in one of the armchairs. The other armchair, their mother's spot, hadn't been sat in since she'd gone to bed about 3 months prior and stayed put. She'd lay there, making demands of Zach, getting sicker and sicker, wasting away, wallowing in her own filth. How Zach stood to go in, Maddie would never know. They should have let her die weeks ago, but Zach kept her going until last night. For months before that, she'd shuffled around the house, getting sicker and sicker, refusing to accept help. She knew she was dying and welcomed it, was Maddie's opinion. Happy to waste away right in front of her kids. On a good day, when Maddie was feeling charitable, she wondered if perhaps her mother recognised the benefit of her dying in secrecy. So Zach and Maddie would have the best chance on their own. No interference from docs, or the Department of Communities and Justice, as the fuckers call themselves now. Busybodies is what they were. But with the welfare still coming in, Zach and Maddie had a chance at a peaceful life. It was their grandfather's house, after all, bought and paid for, the only thing of any value the family had ever owned. Now in their mother's name. Of course, it was in the Gulp, so what was it really worth? But it was a home. Most days, though, Maddie wasn't charitable at all and knew their mother was too damn selfish to even consider that possibility. She made constant demands, probably too stupid to realise there might be consequences for anyone else. Maybe she was so selfish she imagined the whole world ending when she did. No one else mattered. No one else ever mattered with her. "How's your mum?" friends and neighbours would ask. "Oh, she's okay," Maddie would reply. "Just prefers to stay in. You know how she is. We take care of her." "You're good kids." Yeah, Maddie thought, real good. Agoraphobic was a word she'd learned, and it came in handy. Their mother had a lot of issues, they told everyone, including germophobia, agoraphobia, diabetes and asthma. They'd been laying the groundwork for their reclusive mother for the last couple of years. The woman was only 46. Would only ever be 46 now, but that gave them decades of living at home, ostensibly caring for the strange old lady who never went out while they collected her welfare. It was sort of perfect, really, if they could get away with this last bit. If they were caught disposing of the body, that would be a problem. A real problem. "So what do we do?" Zach asked again. The TV was on, but muted. The game show where idiots grinned at each other and answered questions on their specialist subject. Maddie stared at it, thinking. "I don't know," she said at last. "I'm scared, Zach." "Me too." They were quiet for a while. Maddie felt like a little kid, trembling and nervous. This was what they'd wanted, wasn't it? What they'd whispered about while their mother wasted away in her bedroom. Now it had come about, there was a kind of finality to it that made Maddie feel hollow inside. The bitch was one of the most awful people Maddie had ever known, and in the Gulp you met a lot of awful people. But she was their mother too. Some bullshit chemical or emotional power consistently worked on Maddie's insides, made her care. Only a few weeks ago she tried to score some of her mother's approval. Working at Woolies full-time since she quit school at the end of year 10, some 3 or 4 months prior, had been thankless enough, but it was work and it was hers. She'd worked there part-time to supplement the welfare for a couple of years already, but scoring an Employee of the Month certificate had been one of the few things Maddie had been genuinely proud of in recent memory. She'd braved the sickly sweet miasma of her mother's room, squinted to blur the image of the woman emaciated and wheezing on the pile of pillows, and held up the certificate for her to see. "What do you think of that, Mum?" "I expect everyone gets one, like a rota," her mother had croaked, chest whispering with phlegm. "You'll get another in a few months." "I fucking earned that," Maddie had shouted, and stormed from the room. The stench had trailed with her like a cloak lifting in the wind of her passage. She'd run to the bathroom and vomited, got puke on her certificate and screwed it up into a ball as tight as her rage. She threw it away, and that was the last time she'd gone into her mother's death chamber, the last words they'd spoken. When Zach had called out earlier that day to say the woman's breaths were stretching further and further apart, Maddie had said, "So what?" "Last chance," Zach had called from the gloomy, stinking room. "You want to say goodbye?" "Fuck no, she's not even conscious. Hasn't been for 2 days." "I know, I told you that. But maybe she can still hear us?" "Then tell her to go to hell." Yet here she sat now, an empty ache in her gut. Her mother was dead. Her useless, selfish, mean mother was dead, and she cared. Regardless, now they were alone, her and Zach against the world. They had the house, the welfare, she had her job. Zach would quit school at the end of the year and get a job of his own. He had an apprenticeship lined up. The future was bright, by the standards of any future in the Gulp. One last hurdle to leap, getting rid of the body. "Bury her in the backyard," Zach said. Maddie jumped slightly, looked up, torn from her thoughts. "First place they'll look if they suspect foul play." "I know how to lay cement, been helping Brian out for a while now. How about I make us a new patio?" Maddie shook her head. "They'll smash it and pull it up. Anyway, a new cement deck is pretty fucking suspicious in its own right, isn't it?" "I guess so. So what do we do?" Maddie looked at her phone. "It's nearly 4. I have to go out." "Where?" "Just friends. Let's think on it a bit, yeah? Another day or 2 won't make any difference." Zach grimaced and shook his head. "I don't know. I know she's foul in there already, but I was reading up on some of this stuff online. Dead bodies start to putrefy really quickly and..." "What?" Maddie could feel how wide her eyes had gone. Ice trickled around her gut. "What the fuck have you been looking up online? What if someone searches your internet history?" "I've been careful, Mads. Proxies and shit. I'm not an idiot. Besides, it's nothing specific or incriminating." "Jesus, I hope not." "Trust me. Anyway, all I'm saying is we need to decide. We can't leave it much longer." Maddie stood. She needed to be out of the house, away from all this. "Until morning, Zach, okay? Let's decide in the morning." "We have to make a decision, sis. We've been going around and around this subject for weeks now. It's the one thing you'll never make a choice about. Everything else is done. Why is this the big one?" "I don't know. It's too big. It's too weird. The rest is fucking admin, you know? It's stories and lies, and we're good at that. This part's physical. In the morning, I promise. Before you go to school, we'll decide. When you're home from school, we'll do whatever we decide, yeah? Zach nodded. Okay. I might stay out. You okay for dinner? Yeah, probably go over to Josh's anyway, play Xbox, charm his mum into letting me stay for dinner. Maddie took in a deep breath, then blew it out. Okay, good. I'm working tomorrow, so I'll wake you when I get up. We'll decide over breakfast. Zach nodded, lips a flat line. His eyes were wet, red underneath. Maddie swallowed. He was just a kid. They were both just kids, no matter how grown up they'd had to become. They would take care of each other, but she resented the need. No wonder Zach hung out with Josh so much. Josh was everything Zach wished for. Loved, cared for. He had a mum and dad who were around plenty, a nice clean house. She went over and leaned down, kissed the top of his head. Love you, Zach Attack. And he smiled up at her. Love you too, mad as hell. They grinned at each other. We'll be okay, she said at last. He nodded. We will now. If I don't see you later, I'll wake you tomorrow. She left the house, the late summer air fresh and fragrant, with the salt of the ocean only a few blocks away. We'll be okay, she said again to herself. They won't be okay. Things get complicated for Zach and Maddie after that. If you'd like to see how they deal with it, grab a copy of the Gulp. I hope you enjoyed that reading. Thanks for spending time with me. I hope everybody has a wonderful StokerCon, and I really hope, maybe next year, we can all hang out together, in person, at a proper con. All the best, everybody. Take care. See ya.